Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Classroom to Boardroom podcast by Think Now Classroom, where we dive into the journey from education to professional success with leading experts from various fields. I'm Priya Kedia. I'm founder of Think Now Classroom. And today we are diving into the fascinating journey of an inspiring entrepreneur who has carved a unique path in their industry. We'll explore not only the professional side of things, but also some fun and unexpected insights from their life and career. So, to kick things off, let's take a few minutes to hear about your background, Manan. Could you tell us a bit about your educational and professional journey, and if there's a memorable experience from school or college that influenced where you are today? So, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. Great. So I thank you for having me, Priya. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to share the vision that you have and give some insights to that. Take your channel to the next level as well. So, a brief background about me. I am a hardcore mechanical engineer by heart. So, from being very early on in my age, like probably in the third or fourth standard, I was very sure that I wanted to do mechanical engineering. Like, I wanted to build cars. That's all I knew because I was as a kid, I used to play a lot with Hot Wheels. So from there, I was very inspired that I want to build cars when I grow up. And the only thing I knew that to build cars, I need to be an engineer and specifically a mechanical engineer. So from there on, I started studying a lot more into like maths and physics and stuff like that because that's what was going to drive me towards becoming a mechanical engineer. Now the things that I'm doing in life, I run a company called Modernizing Processes, which is purely into software. It has nothing to do with mechanical engineering as such. But I think the fundamentals that I learned in mechanical engineering overall help really well with in the software space for me. So all the things that I figured out and I understood the way I used to think in mechanical terms, the way a system needs to be made with the right input, with the right machine in the middle, and to give an output. The concepts are the same in the industry that I'm working in today. My heart still belongs to the mechanical space. Sometime future in my life, I'll probably be building a factory. But as of now, I'm running a company called Modernizing Processes. And what we do as a company is we bridge the gap between business consultants and software developers and build processes and automate them using the right technology. A lot of no code and a lot of AI as well. Uh, to answer your second question, there's a very interesting core memory that I have. As a very young child, probably when I was 4 years old, my parents decided that they wanted me to pursue a sport. So they put me in roller skating, figure skating. So from the age of 4 years old till the age of probably I would say 20-year old, I have done figure skating, and I over the years I eventually became like a state level skater, then a national level roller hockey player as well, and that was a fundamental experience for me to be disciplined in something that I really enjoy doing. So that's what my coaches from my skating journey and my grit and discipline comes through pursuing a sport, and that was something that till date I look up to. That because I did it very early on, I learned few essential skills which helped me run my business as well.
Awesome. I loved how you kind of extrapolated your skills from mechanical engineering and then something as fundamental as sports to something that you are doing today. And again, I would say that's another skill where you could actually use your learnings you developed at one place to another. And I think a lot of us will kind of resonate with your experience or story here, that as a child, or when we were 18, 19 years old, we were something by heart, but then we kind of started doing something else, but we also enjoy that. And of course, whatever we learned, we definitely use that in our current projects systems as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Manan, for sharing those experiences. It's always enlightening to see how certain moments in a person's life can spark a career. And now let's dive into few deeper topics about your career journey and the unique skills that you have developed. So first up, here's a bit of a twist on a common question. So what's one skill you wish you had before starting your business? Uh, something you feel would have made a big difference.
I feel one skill that would have made a big difference was being the ability to create content. So when I started, it was extremely difficult for me to face the camera or just think about how my consumers would understand what I'm trying to do. So just the ability to be able to share my thoughts and my ideas on paper, on text, or on video. That one skill, if I had early on, it would have really helped me. I think I still don't have that skill. I'm still growing and developing that. But that's one skill I would say that would have changed the game for me.
Oh, that's so true. I mean, I think if somebody had asked me this question, I would have answered the same thing, but probably because you planted this idea in my mind. Because, when you are running your startup, you have to talk to or you have to sell your idea so many times and, in so many different ways. And honestly, I also, face the same thing that, how do you basically convey to different people about those? And then, like, at a very later point of time, I came to know that there's something like communication consultants.
Yeah.
Which people companies employ, which help you do that. If you want to put out something in your website, there are communication consultants who help you how do you put out the language. And just very recently I came to know that this is also a very big skill or a training that people go through. So yeah, I completely agree with you. uh, it makes me like, while we are on the topic of skill, it actually makes me wonder that, in your opinion, what would you say are the top three life skills necessary in your profession of entrepreneurship and having your own venture, and something that people might overlook but are essential in the long run.
I think the first and most important skill that I have also learned after a few years of doing this is actually very fundamental. It's discipline, because entrepreneurship is a marathon. You need to do the same things, or you need to do a lot of things every day, again and again, and you need to take a lot of setbacks and successes and run through that in a very disciplined manner. So having discipline in the work that you do is the first most important skill, I would say, because as soon as you have that, then everything else can automatically fit into the place. Second, I would say, that has helped me is decision making. So as an entrepreneur, you are faced with decisions every day in day out. So being able to take the right decisions or take decisions faster, and analytically think about what is right and what is more right for you, that helps very much. And third skill, I would say, is communication, because in the end, as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to communicate your vision to your customers, to your team, to all the other stakeholders involved. So learning that skill as well is, I think, having these three together uh, can set you up for bigger things.
Awesome. I really like the point where you emphasized like your first top skill as discipline, because a lot of people overlook that, and a lot of times we feel that okay, this is something we were taught in school or our father used to emphasize on that. But yeah, only by being in such professions where you absolutely need it and nothing goes on right without that, then you realize okay, my dad was right. I should have been more
Yeah,
disciplined, and
and
school did a
I'll
good
be
job.
honest here. I'll be honest here. I am one person who is not disciplined at all. Like who used to take that, okay, discipline is just meant to be on the books. But only when I start practicing and start seeing the results of it, or sometimes start seeing the ill effects of not being disciplined, is when you realize that, oh, it's such a big virtue if you do it well.
Right. It was very underrated, and because it was kind of forced upon us as kids, so we always thought,
Yeah.
okay, we'll be good without that as well. Okay,
Yeah.
I like that perspective a lot. Okay, so switching gears here a bit, I'm curious, do you have any unusual skill or hobbies that, you feel they somehow helped you in your work? And, sometimes it's the unexpected skills that, they can be surprisingly useful for people.
Sure. I have one hobby which is very dear to my heart, which is playing snooker. It's not unusual, but playing snooker puts me in a zone where I am fully focused. So for the time when I am in the game, I am just focused on what I'm holding, like the cue and the ball. So I'm not thinking about anything else at all, and that's very recently I read a book called Deep Work. So when I read that book, I realized that the sport is so much similar to the book, the concepts in the book, which says that when you're doing something, do it in such a way where everything apart from what you're doing is noise. You are able to ignore that, and then you're focusing on literally that thing that you're supposed to do. As soon as you start getting deeper into the work that you're doing, the kind of output that you can generate out of it is phenomenal. So my hobby in playing snooker and then reading the book Deep Work made me realize that okay, because I'm able to focus in the game, I need to use that skill and focus on the things that I'm doing at the moment in that moment.
Yeah, that's an amazing perspective of how we like certain games or certain activities, and it makes us focus. So for that duration, we are basically practicing how do you focus, and then you use that in your work as well. And I think with the book example, you already I think kind of answered my next question. But again, speaking of unexpected sources of wisdom, like you said, Uh, playing snooker gave you one. So have you ever taken a lesson from a movie, book, or a TV show, any fiction, non-fiction thing that, or I would say, like let's talk about fiction. So that really helped in your career, because we all know self-help books do help us, but sometimes it's something we are reading, some movie we are watching, and we feel that okay, this is so applicable in my life.
No, absolutely. I don't know if you uh, know about the series Kung Fu Panda. Now, Kung Fu Panda is one of my favorite movies. It the series entirely, but the first movie itself, like Kung Fu Panda One, that's one of my favorite movies. I keep going back to it, which is technically supposed to be like a kids entertainer. It also has a lot of like comic scenes and everything, but the entire movie is filled with life goals, like life learnings, I would say. So it gives so much more perspective into the smaller things that you need to do in life, such as the panda himself. He unexpectedly becomes a dragon warrior. So there is a quote that his master uses that this guy says that this was an accident, and the master says there are no accidents. Basically, trying to show him that whatever is happening in your life is somehow destined to happen, but you need to work to get it done. So even though he became a dragon warrior, then he had to put in a lot of effort to ensure that he could make the destiny fructify his destiny of sorts. So I would say the entire movie is filled with a lot of life lessons for me, but this one thing really stuck with me, and I keep going back to that movie just for entertainment as well as some motivation.
Oh, that's awesome. I think after your answer, I'm definitely gonna. I must have watched it, some time back, but I've kind of forgotten a lot of it now. But yeah, after your answer, I'm definitely gonna watch it this weekend. Yeah. So, like Manan, you are running a company, and nowadays it's not just the success of the company, the stocks of the company, but it's also a lot about how the workforce feels about the company. What's the general sentiment among the employees about the company, work-life balance. There's so many other things. So, emotional intelligence is one of them, which is important in today's workplace. And through this podcast, through our startup, we are basically trying to help students nurture some skills that are missed in school. So do you think emotional intelligence uh, could is something that can be nurtured since childhood, and something that is really important when kids join the workforce?
It's absolutely important because in the end you have to work with humans. So when you are working and interacting with other people, you need to be emotionally available for a lot of things, because work is just one part of what you are going to do in a company. You're going to do a lot more things. So I think emotional intelligence overall can is a must have for students in their growing phases. And I also think that there are ways to inculcate that in a very simple and easy manner, which we try to do in our company to build a culture as well, where with the team we always try to get them involved in some kind of sports together. So when people play sports together, they end up building understanding a lot about how other people react, how they are supposed to behave in with a team of sorts. So that is one thing we do. And second thing that we do as a culture as well is every month we do like a fun session where we make people play board games together. So when people are really putting their energy in playing games together, and especially like strategic board games where your move changes the way the next person moves, it automatically makes you think a lot more emotionally of sorts. So yeah, these are two things that I think if they are done by in the childhood also for a student or for a child, that can nurture and create emotional intelligence for them.
Okay, so I mean, the team activities and group activities and board games and these kind of outings where people are actually very free and just enjoying. So those kind of things can definitely help kids. Like those are the first few things that parents can take up, and maybe nowadays schools are already doing so much for the kids in terms of developing a lot of life skills, but. Yeah, like I feel these are the few things that parents can also kind of
These are
consciously
simple.
help students, simple things that
Yeah.
they can take it up in their life. Awesome. Okay, so switching gears here a bit, like as you'll remember that when we were kids, we had a lot of moments in our life when we had to handle failures. You
Yeah.
don't get good marks in class. You were supposed to come first, but you came third, and whatever sports and a lot of things where now if you think about it, those were not very big failures, but yeah, to us that time they were the failures. So you're running a venture, you're running a business, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of ups and downs in that whole journey. So any anecdote that you like to share with us where you felt like, okay, this is the failure, and then you overcame it, and anything around that.
Sure. Um, I So one of the failures that I would like to talk about is not to do with my business journey, but it was to do with my admissions, I would say. So
Hmm.
would that be okay?
Yeah, 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 definitely.
So I was applying for an MBA, and thankfully I actually got into one of the top MBA colleges in Mumbai as well, which was my dream college. So I got a seat over there, and unfortunately in that year itself, um, there was some change in the government, and they launched a few more reserved seats. So even after getting my admission in and going to the college for like three to 4 days, my admission was revoked because of some political reasons, etc. Now, when that happens, that when that happened, it felt like such a big, immense failure for me because there wasn't something that I could do about it. I could have scored a lot more marks probably to get into a secured position, but other than that, I couldn't do much about it, and I was quite devastated for because of that. But eventually, when that failure happened, that was the core reason my business began. My business exists today. So after that failure happened, probably 2 months down the line is when I launched my business, and I started running this company. I would say that failure is the reason that I would was able to launch a bigger company and do, I would say, something that I was aspiring to do much before, and just because I failed somewhere, I could I could achieve this.
Yeah, that's so right. I mean, if whoever listens to this, I mean, a lot of people will have a very similar story, because when you answered, even I could feel the same, that there were certain points in my life, after you graduate, after you start working and things like that, that multiple stop points where I felt, okay, I failed at this, okay, this did not happen based on what I wanted to be. And then if I looked at it 2 years ahead, I felt, okay, thank God that happened to me. Thank God, I did not get into this. Thank God, this just not turned out the way I thought to
Yeah,
be. So yeah, it always turns around if we are very consistent and if we are just doing the good work. Like it could
it
be,
does. And I think
yeah.
more than that, what helped me really was one quote that my father always used to tell me, that uh, before, like whenever you're working on something, put your best foot forward. So work in such a way that you have given your best, and if you've given your best, then don't worry about the result. Once you've given your best, you have done everything that was in your own hand. Now whatever the result is, that could be success or failure in your head, but you won if you give your best. So that one thought process really helped me deal with failures overall, and there have been a lot of those which keep coming in. But just thinking about it, that if I have done my best, if I have given justice to the work, then the result is just the fruit, and it could be good or bad both.
Yeah, that's right. That's a very solid advice that, if you have done everything from your end, you should be happy. Yeah. Okay. So, in our startup in the Think Now classroom, we are basically trying to kind of unwind ourselves from a very conventional way of learning things. So we kind of sat one day and thought that how do we as adults learn. So then I could feel that it's not just the courses uh, which which basically kind of contribute to my learning. It's so much more. Like I talk to different people uh, who contribute to my learning, and there were so many non, I would say, organic ways of learning, but not structured or the organized way of learning. So then we introduce this component in our three-step learning methodology, where what we are encouraging a kid to do is, you use our learning modules, and which would be basically tailored so that you or anybody, any layman can understand, and then you basically do some family conversations using our module. So like not all the families are same, and not a lot of families kind of emphasize on the thing that when you sit for dinner, or when you are at home, let's talk about things, let's share things, let's talk about intellectual things, let's discuss what you think about it and your opinions. So we introduce this component of family conversations in our learning module. So how do you feel, how important the dinner table conversations with family is for a student's learning process? And of course you could like share with how do you feel it is important in your life.
No, I think it's extremely important because uh, learning includes a lot of things beyond just reading and capturing information. So the next step that you guys have done is extremely, I think it makes a lot of sense, because only when what you have read in books is discussed with other people, you are able to either validate it or hear other people's opinions, and just by doing that, you are able to revise what you did so far, and form some kind of a thought process around it. That ensures that you have thought through it, you have let your curiosity go beyond just the books, and have discussed it with other people to know their opinions. And I think the next step after that is practicing what you have learned in some way or the other, which is like applying it to something that you're doing, or like application based learning. In my case itself, my father is an entrepreneur as well. So since being a child, I we have had dinner table conversations about how to grow a business or what happened at work today. So those things actually play a big part in defining how I am taking decisions nowadays as well.
Okay, that's such a valid example, because you and your father share a similar profession. So how his learnings, and in a totally different business, in a totally different setting, and very different kind of technology, or maybe non-technology, something that you could gain right in your home from your father, who is an experienced entrepreneur. So yeah, that definitely
Yes.
holds a lot of value to it. Yeah. All right. Now for the rapid fire round, this is where the things get a little fast paced and fun. Just go with the first answer that comes to your mind.
Sure.
Okay. So here we go. If you could start your entrepreneurial journey all over again, what's the one thing you'll do differently?
I would figure out who is my ideal customer profile first. So, who is it that I want to target? And I would zero down on that in the beginning itself.
Now, who is an entrepreneur, either real or fictional, that inspires you?
Mm, I would say Mr. Ratan Tata because that's the first name that comes to me right now. But he really inspires me because the kind of impact he could create with all the different businesses that and all the different industries that he could venture into. That is the real power of what an entrepreneur can do with his wealth.
Awesome. What's one tech tool you simply cannot live without?
There's a tool called Glide Apps that we use to build a lot of technology around, and also use that to run my company, run certain things on a day-to-day basis in my personal life as well. So Glide.
Okay. And entrepreneurship, has a lot of myths floating around. It's basically people had a lot of businesses earlier, but the entrepreneurship term, startup term, is new. So if you had to debunk like one of a myth for our young listeners, and nowadays in schools also entrepreneurship has a lot of buzz. So which myth would you choose to debunk?
It's the myth would be it's the first step of entrepreneurship is fundraising. I don't think that is important. Fundraising is a big part of entrepreneurship for sure, but you can build a really good successful business or a startup without even raising funds. So yeah, that's something that is a buzz in people around nowadays that we need to raise funds.
Yeah, that's so true. I completely agree with you. Okay, now a fun question. What's one quirky fact about your work life that usually surprises people? I mean, non-entrepreneur janta in your social life.
Yes. What surprise in my business? I do not take phone calls. So I don't take phone calls from my team. I don't take phone calls from my customers as well. I do not take phone calls with anybody. Everything that I do is a scheduled video call of sorts. So that is something that a lot of people get really confused about. Okay, how is it possible? But I've just structured my life in such a way that it has to be run through a system. So I am not never taking urgent phone calls. Phone calls are just kept for family.
Okay, that's really different and unusual. Yeah. Okay, almost done. We are right there. So, if you could go back in time, what's one piece of advice you wish you'd known like 10 years ago, or like one piece of advice you'll give to your 10 years younger self?
Be a lot more focused in what you're trying to do uh, rather than trying to do a lot of things at the same time.
Okay, very valid advice. Okay, so now let's talk tech. In your view, what are the two major technologies that have modernized businesses significantly over the last few years? And since like you guys are already doing that, so yeah.
Sure. The first kind of a revolution was with no code, where the skills that coders had was democratized by using tools that could do that without knowing how to code. So no code as a terminology brought a big shift where people could build websites, apps, integrations, etc. without knowing how to code. And second big evolution is definitely AI, which is what's happening nowadays. That leveraging just by using AI, a lot of people are able to do things that they would have never imagined that they could do before. So yes, these are two big revolutions that I've seen in my journey.
Okay, all right. And lastly, just for fun, this always brings out very interesting answers. So, if you could switch careers with anyone for a day, real or fictional, who would it be and why? More like, a Nayak film.
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I think I would like to switch careers with somebody who is much more at peace with the work that they're doing. So I would choose somebody like an artist who is just super focused in the painting that they're working on. If that helps. Yeah.
If there is an artist listening to this podcast, they might, just like share their share of non peaceful moments with us on the comments, and that would be really interesting to
For sure, I would
hear.
love to know.
Yeah, because we have so many different myths about professions. Like even when I started doing it, I felt like it was not really the idea or the content or how I'm taking my ideas into real life, but it was more on how do you manage people and how do you work, uh, put your task consistently to basically bring out value in your product. So it was like a lot of
Absolutely.
different things which I did not imagine, which will turn out to be so difficult in running a startup. Okay,
I agree.
so
You
that
you
was,
get to know things only when you do them.
yeah, exactly. Only on job training can teach you certain skills. Uh, okay, so that was amazing. And thank you so much, Manan, for sharing these insights with us today. I'm sure our listeners have learned so much from your experiences and from your wisdom. And, before we wrap up, uh, is there any final piece of advice or encouragement you'd like to leave, with our audience, especially for those who are just starting out their journey?
Yes, I would say to a lot of people that go with your flow. So find a flow state and go with the flow. Just ensure that you are doing something at every time. Like, just don't be lazy. But whatever you are doing, you don't need to over analyze things. Go with the flow. Go with the things that you really enjoy doing, and you will automatically figure out where is it that you get the best results.
Yeah, that's again a very, I would say, advice that has come from I mean, you're already things that you've learned and your own personal experiences. Because this is something that I was doing a podcast with somebody, and I think somebody had asked me about. Um, how would you suggest students to kind of look for their dream career and things like that. So then I told him that right now I am like working on my startup, but I really don't know whether 5 years down the line I'll be working on that. And because I'm
Yeah,
not stiff on that, if
yeah.
3 years down the line I have a very good opportunity which can fuel my research mindset, or things that I like, I might start doing that. So there is nothing like, if you do not know when you're 15 years old that okay, this is what you are going to do, you are in a wrong place. That's completely wrong. It's just that whatever you're doing right now, just do it good and have fun. um, so yeah, thank you once again, Manan, for joining us on Classroom to Boardroom. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to tune in next time for more insights from leaders and innovators and entrepreneurs. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep making connections between the classroom and the boardroom, which the podcast really suggests. Okay, thank you.